Alright YouTube, hello, thank you for watching. Well, this is the last video on this Madison box here. I felt that I made a substantial improvement on it enough to mandate one more video. I probably will not be doing any more electronics videos for a while here. There's only really two foreseeable projects at this point in time, as far as radio goes anyway, that I would ever consider doing. But I just wanted to show you what I ended up doing with this Madison box. Now, the clamp holding the display on is courtesy of Amazon. As Jackie Gleason would say, those SOBs couldn't close an umbrella. That's really as nicely as I could put it. 2 weeks, 2 deliveries, failed, and still no plastic bonder. So this is the amp board that was in that entourage there. Kind of a shame because it took me a lot of time to build that board there for it, kludged onto the side, but I just couldn't get this son of a gun to work. I wasn't going to put something like this into one of my projects. If something doesn't meet my criteria, I don't work with it. You don't put a Ford Pinto engine in a Cadillac. That's kind of the way I look at it. I got probably, I would say, all but 100 hours in that speaker box right there. And you might be thinking, man, I don't believe one single word you say, but I swear to you, it's the absolute gospel truth there. Probably several hours of it just matching up the damn LEDs. I wanted these LEDs to match up with the Madison back there in dark territory. All the LEDs have to be relatively the same brightness. Kind of looks like this yellow one might be lagging a little bit. Halo, check, check, halo. Halo, check, check, halo. Looks like the green one's a little bit better than it was a while ago. OCD at its very best, if ever there was a case of OCD, because I will serve no piece of electronics before it's time. That's just how I am. Halo, check, check, halo. My target power was about 30 watts. 200 watt scale, which is not accurate at the bottom end of the scale because they're generally calibrated at full scale, but halo, check, check, halo. Halo. About 25-30 watts. Right on the money. Scope looks a little bit better. Halo, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Halo, check, check. Output looks pretty fabulous. I don't even know what the hell was coming out of that 70s board. Don't know what it was. Ain't nothing I'm playing with, that's for sure. I think I got this mod indicator about where I want it. Halo, check, check. Doesn't have a lot of halo on it. That's always a good thing. Getting a damn halo off these LEDs. What I do is I line all these LEDs up on the board. Nail them down to a damn board. Put pots on all of them, and then sit there and adjust the pots until I get them all at the brightness levels that I want them, and then nail down the pot values in the unit. So there you are. Take a gander at that marvel of engineering. That's the culmination of a whole hell of a lot of sleepless nights. That's probably the easiest way I can put it. That is an RM203P board, and it's kind of weird because I wanted to put an RM board in my unit in Madison that this was made to go with, but I could never fit the damn thing in. So it ended up working out, even though I never even thought this out. It just kind of fell into place. So I still got my RM board, driver board, for a Madison. Just ended up having to put it in another box. Now this right here is the heart of making shit work. This is a 6 dB attenuator that's held down with some chewing gum. So there's a 155 watt, a 155 watt, 275s in parallel, and it's spot on 6 dB. 12.5 watts envelope in gives you 3.5 watts of envelope out. You might be thinking, well, how in the hell did you get a 6 dB attenuator into an RM Italy board without putting the 6 dB attenuator in the entire line in and out of the board? Well, You know, I guess I am the bandit. I do shit that they say can't be done. I seem to specialize in that. So these pieces of RG316 here are tied underneath here to the transformer, between the relay and the transformer. Of course, tying them in there is no great science. I mean, but the thing of tying them in there to the point at which they fit under the board, and they were soldered so secure that there's no way in hell they're going to break off the board, that was kind of the marvel behind the engineering. Now these are set down on chewing gum. Probably thinking, what the hell is chewing gum? Right here is chewing gum. 567-PL-1-3-1016-H. It is gap filler pad, although I'm kind of questioning the gap pad because the last time I bought this, it didn't have this Ultima Flex gap pad under the description. Not sure. But yeah, this is good shit here. If you never played with this stuff, I'm not an expert on it. This is only about my second or third buying on it. It's cool as hell though. It's extremely heavy. I mean, for what it is, I mean, it's got some weight to it. And it's got a piece of clear film over there. And a piece of film over there. With some green shit in the middle that looks like chewing gum. About the same consistency as chewing gum. But the kind of weird part is it has some kind of fiber bed going through it. Down in the chewing gum. I don't know what the hell the fiber is made of. I have no idea. Might want to buy some just to check it out and see what you can make it do. It's a bit expensive, but I had to do a couple modifications on this RM board to get it in here, but I mean, all in all, it wasn't too bad. The fuse I just ended up letting in because it's a 12 amp slow blow fuse. If things ever blow, I mean, you'll play hell to find one of the things. The nice thing about it is this is current limited, setting at 9.2 amps right now. So the cool thing is you never have to worry about the fuse blowing. Thus you never have to worry about finding one of them. Looks like I put another relay in here at one time for the preamp, because that is definitely not the original kind of crappy relays they use in these RM boards. There's a bias change down here. Looks like R3 was taken out. 2 series resistors were put in for R3, and then there was like a pickoff point to a pot, and I'm not sure if that other leg of that pot's grounded or if there's another divider. I think there's another divider resistor below it. So anyway, this sets the bias on those FETs there. These aren't the original RM FETs. These are, shit, can't think of the numbers on them right now. But they're the same FETs they use in the stinking Lincoln 2. Probably the same FETs they use in that other piece of junk radio too. So yeah, this sets the bias on my Lincoln FETs. God love that Amazon boy. Man, I totally wasn't expecting him. I'd have bet $100 today that epoxy wouldn't have came. So anyway, this is a 6.3 volt voltage regulator for the light bulbs. This is a piece of junk Omron here. It's a 3-pole. Coincidentally, these are the same piece of junk Omrons that they use in the TRC 457 and the TRC 458. So this pulls in to power the lights. They're all 6.3 volters. It's a 3-pole, so it gives me 2 open poles in case I just decide to put some disco lights or something in this. Now you might be thinking, why the hell do you need a 6.3 volt regulator to drive these light bulbs? Some people would think that's redundant and a waste of time and you don't need that, but actually you do need that. Because if you just kludge and take the lazy man's way out and just put a dropping resistor in there, what happens if one of these 20,000 hour bulbs decides to eventually blow one day? Well, what's going to happen is the voltage to the other bulbs that are not blown is going to increase up above 6.3 volts, assuming that you have that dropping resistor set at the right value. So this way, if the bulbs blow, you don't have to worry about torching up bulbs that were good because you were lazy and just put a dropping resistor on it. So, kind of the funny part here is this just, if ever there was a case for OCD, this is kind of it right here. This is actually a 6-volt regulator. And I stood the ground leg up by 300 millivolts on it to get me 6.3 because 6 volts wasn't enough. I kid you not. I'm laughing at that, and there's truth to that, but also by the flip side too, changing 300 millivolts on a light bulb makes a significant difference in the amount of light you get out of it. So it's not as ludicrous as it sounds. But yeah, it's exactly 6.3 volts. It's not 6.35. So I stood it up with 2 resistors, which is something that I don't know if people know you can do or not. I mean, there's many ways of doing it. I mean, you can put transistors and stuff on these. You can do anything with a fixed voltage regulator to make it adjustable. I'm just not sure that the general population knows how easy it is to do that. Now this guy here is going to be dissipating some power. So I put another metal oxide in here, 3.6, to equalize the power dissipation between this and to chew up some watts in this, so this guy wasn't running so hot. These have about a 3-volt window on them. It depends on what regulator you get. They're not all equal, but generally a 3-volt window. So if you want 6.3 out, your input voltage can't drop below 9.3. So when you put a dropper in here to equalize the dissipation between these two, you got to keep that in mind, because this dropper will drop the voltage to the input. But as long as you don't make this such that when this regulator goes under load, the voltage drop across here is so great that you no longer have 9.3 volts on the input of the regulator, everything's fine and dandy. It's a miraculously simple little thing to do to safeguard things. It also acts as a current limit too. These are internally limited, but that way if something tries to catch on fire, this MO resistor will burn open. Now I'm not sure about why this guy didn't do this, but hell, he had this made. If you remember, originally the amp board was sitting somewhere in here. You couldn't really find it, but then there was a piece of magnet wire that was soldered down to the board that came up, and then he had his lights attached on the magnet wire to suspend the lights out here. I don't know why the dumbass couldn't have seen this, forgive me, but he had two perfect standoffs here on the front panel of the unit. I mean, those are perfect tie points. So all I had to do is just cut some nylon spacers and space the board back, so the display doesn't get burn in from the bulbs, because these are pretty screaming bulbs. They draw about 200 milliamps. I'm trying to think what the candle power is on them, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you don't want to put bulbs so close that it burns up your damn display, because that was the whole reason for getting it, or for building it. Now, in case you're wondering about this entourage, I don't miss nothing, man, I don't. That's a 6-pole filter. Unfortunately, I can't take credit for that, because this guy, SV1AFN, sells on eBay. So I got a 30 meg low pass filter on it, which actually brought the output power coming out of the RM up by almost 5 watts for whatever reason. I've seen that before, putting these low pass filters in. Normally you have to worry about some kind of small insignificant insertion loss, but sometimes it actually seems to make the ass end of the amplifier a little bit more maybe efficient. Not sure. This is for my modulation monitor light, and that's actually tied into the input rather than the output, so it senses RF off the input of the amp. That way I got a pretty good idea what's coming out of this box on the output, because the whole purpose of building this was to drive a 4 or an 8 pill, even though I don't have any plans of talking on one, but that was the whole that was the whole purpose of building this, is I wanted a perfect driver for a 4 to 8 pill. So this way I can set 12 watts into this and adjust this to come on at precisely what input power I need coming into the amp, in order to make my 30 watts or what have you coming out of the amp. So it's just a crude monitor. You know, if the mod light's not coming on, I know that I don't have enough drive coming into this amp, and thus I don't have enough drive for a 4 or an 8 pill, whichever the case may be. So I can really set it anywhere I want. These are heat sunk down with that chewing gum, and what I like about that chewing gum shit is it's pretty thin, but it conforms. So it's perfect for conforming to the body of the resistor and keeping that resistor in contact with the heat sink through the chewing gum, if that makes any sense, because there's kind of give and take in it. So that's why I used that. This resistor coming in here is going to be dissipating a pretty good amount of power because it's the first resistor of the string. So it's going to be dissipating about 4.1 watts when there's 12 watts PEP coming in. It's a 5 watt resistor. Having them on the heat sink, I think, is going to probably pull some heat away from the core of these resistors, because you don't want your attenuator to get stressed out, because then the resistance values change, and hell, you might not have a 50 ohm impedance anymore through it, and you might not end up having the right amount of attenuation. That's kind of what I was trying to say to you. Might have to bump this yellow one up one more notch. Either that or the viewing angle on it's slightly different, and that's what's messing it up for me. Hello, check, check, hello. Hello, check, check. These three look good. These yellows are always the problem. They take more current, and yellow is kind of a hard color to brighten up on an LED. This here is actually a damn Chinese LED, which is almost the worst possible thing in an LED. But the reason I use this is because they got good color to them, and they can get crazy bright. Crazy bright meaning that there's a huge aurora borealis, huge halo around the damn things. So you got to cut these back. I think this is set at about 1.5 milliamps of current. These guys always, the yellows always take more current, generally speaking, than what other LEDs do, and the color of them generally isn't very nice. But these are all super quality LEDs with the exception of that one. Now, on the subject of LEDs, you know, I said this before in one other video. I don't know if anyone took my advice or if anyone really cared. But if you want a white LED, you're going to pull your damn hair out finding one. So that's basically what I'm trying to say to you. So I did all the work here. It took me months to find these damn LEDs. I spent hundreds of bucks on packs and packs of LEDs that are not white. So if you want a white one, buddy, this is about as white as you're going to get on an LED. I love these things. These are the greatest things since the damn Gilbert chemistry set. So these are Lighthouse LEDs LLC. You can buy these things on eBay. I'm assuming they still have them. If you buy them, please don't buy all of them, because I might want to get some more someday, because a white LED, man, you just don't see it. It's kind of like finding a white deer out there in the woods. It just don't happen. Check this shit out. So obviously that white LED is that white LED there. And it's definitely not a bicolor LED. Look at that shit. So, you know, like I say, we like to do things that they say can't be done. I'm just going to let you think about that for a while. The reason I did that is because I wanted these LEDs to match up with the unit in back there. That's why I had to incorporate a dreaded blue LED into it, because I had no choice but to use a dreaded blue on that, although it looks very, very good for a blue. So this is a mutant hybrid LED. So probably next week I'll see that they're making these things. That's usually what happens when I brainstorm and come up with some shit that nobody would really ever think of. And then in a month or so, I see that they're selling them. Had that happen with a Bearcat scanner one time back in the 80s. No, I'm sorry, it was back in the 90s. Bearcat was coming out with handheld scanners, and I'll just throw this in there. So just hear me out. So I had this Bearcat scanner. So of course this handheld Bearcat scanner, I don't remember which model it was, had a light on it, on the keypad. You hit the rubber button, the light comes on for, I don't know what it was, 1 or 2 seconds, and it goes off. Because, I mean, if you got a scanner, it makes sense. You want to see what the hell the display is on it, in case you're watching it at nighttime. Well, the people at Uniden just weren't quite smart enough to figure out that when it's dark out and you need the light, you can't find a damn rubber button to turn the light on. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to fix this ordeal. So I tore that Bearcat apart, got the DVM in it, and I started probing around trying to find a point that the voltage changed either high or low. It didn't matter to me, when the squelch opened on it. And as soon as I found one, I said, yeah buddy, I got her made now. So I went in there and made a couple mods and tied some transistors and shit in, and bingo. As soon as the Bearcat scanner come up on a frequency and the squelch broke, it turned on the light so you could see what frequency was on the scanner. And I thought, man, about 3 or 4 months later, a guy brought a Bearcat scanner into me to look at. And when I looked at it, I said, them son of a bitches. I can't believe it. Sure enough, man, they had a backlight on that scanner that broke on when the scanner locked up on a frequency. I swear to God, that is the truth. I don't even think it was 3 months after I made that modification to that Bearcat scanner. I wanted to put new SO239s on this, but I couldn't find any SO239s here. So I just kind of left it go. Well, I got to the point at which the other day I said, you know what? I said, I've done everything to this unit. I can't leave them damn SO239s in there. That's just not going to happen. So I did go ahead and find some, but when I tried to get the SO239s out that were in here, they wouldn't come out. You know, I kind of had to question this guy. I mean, because he back-mounted the damn SO239s. And I thought, who in the hell back-mounts an SO239 connector? It took quite a while. So I got the Dremel tool out with a cutoff wheel and just started zooming around the back side of the connector here up against the chassis, and cut the whole SO239 down to it was basically about that wide. Took the screw out for the transformer down here in the corner, and then the SO239 fell out that little hole down there. So I got 2 new SO239s into it, thank goodness. If you never saw the guy Project Farm on YouTube, you gotta watch him, man. I really appreciate the shit that he does, because he'll spell it out to you. Of course, he won't come right out and tell you that it's junk like I do. He doesn't use my colorful phrasing. He's a little bit more viewer friendly. But this plastic bonder, it's black. This is actually pretty darn good stuff. There's a lot of epoxies that are pretty much all worthless as tits on a boar hog. Most of them are clear epoxies, but this stuff here works. They also make a brown, kind of a brownish gray in this too, which sometimes is pretty good, but this here seems to have the highest success rate. The hard part is finding this. It's not common on the shelf at a hardware store. You know, I can't thank that Amazon boy enough. So, you know, I almost hate to say this, but after about 100 hours on this, if somebody walked through the door right now and they said, right here's $500, I want that box, you know what I would say to them? I would say, you're absolutely nuts in your head. $500 just ain't gonna buy it. And that's kind of a ludicrous statement for me to make that, I kind of feel, but I think that shows you something. And perhaps it's just me, maybe nobody else is experiencing this. But you know, if somebody gave me that $500 and said, I want you to go ahead and build one of these exactly like this one is, I could not build this for $500. Absolutely could not. I sat around and thought about it for about an hour last night. To buy this speaker on eBay, if you can even find one, I guarantee they're going to want $100 plus for it. That's just to buy the box. This, I don't even know where the hell we'd get it, but assuming that we could get it. You know, we got 3 Calvin Klein switches on here, and you're thinking, well, how much can a damn Calvin Klein switch be? Well, it all adds up. This transformer, I don't even know where you'd find one of these things, to be honest with you. You're not going to find these on eBay, and if you did, I mean, you're going to pay, I bet, $50 for it easily for the transformer. The heatsink, you know, the RM board's going to run you like $95 because you're going to have to buy a 203P and tear it apart. I mean, you add up all these Mauser parts, the circuit board, which some of this is vector board, expensive stuff, the bulbs, all the resistors, the caps, the transistors, all that stuff adds up. I mean, these fools will try to sell these Omron relays for $20, $25 on eBay. You know, the rectifier, the heatsink. These heat sinks on the back, you can't even find these SOBs. This is kind of a rare kind of profile heat sink, and when occasionally I do see these come up on eBay, but it's pretty rare. And when it happens, I buy them, because these things will go on the back of a lot of units, and they're double finned. Some of these are not. Some of them are the same case dimension, basically, or the same heatsink dimension, but they're not double finned. Till you add all that up, the SO239s, a line cord, I mean, hell, I don't even know what I paid for these RCA transistors here. I think you see what I'm saying. The whole idea of building this, like I said, was to make a box that matched my Madison the best that I could to drive a 4 or an 8 pill. And this would definitely drive an 8. I just have to make a couple modifications inside. These TRC 449s, these were such a good radio. I put a shitload of time into that meter, trying to get that light that bright to come through the meter, and trying to get red LED in it that kind of matched up, kind of like the original was. Hello, check, check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hello. I mean, that stuff all takes crazy amounts of time to do simple little things like that and get it looking right. Of course, this camera doesn't do it justice. A lot better off the camera. So I said some time ago that there was only basically 2 other electronics projects that I would consider doing, because I want to get back to working on my chemistry lab, and this shit has taken so much time away from it. I said this before, I just can't have it. So the only other thing I would consider doing, and I don't think it would honestly ever happen because the amount of money that would be involved, would be to buy another one of these speakers here and build a straight 8 pill inside this another speaker box, just to match up with that Madison. That is one thing that I would consider doing. Perhaps if a bag of money fell, well, I don't even think I would do it if a bag of money fell, but you never know. This is the other thing that I have considered doing, but I think it would look gaudy, and I won't have something look gaudy. Now, the problem with dealing with aluminum is it oxidizes. It's a shitty thing to work with. You can't machine it. You can't drill through it. Getting holes into this thick of aluminum, this is a very, very thick piece of angle, I'll tell you what, was painstaking, because when a drill bit hits aluminum, the first thing it does is it mushes. So you can't drill clean, precise holes in aluminum. I've considered taking some more of these same LEDs that are in this and making a LED bar graph for the output power on this M800. Now, there's a couple ways I could do that. I could take them across in a straight line. I think they would go. I don't think there's a clearance issue on the back. Or I could take them off of basically the center point of this and bring them up in an arc, and basically have the third to the last LED center on the center line for those LEDs that are on it. That was kind of my thinking. It would involve, I think it was 7 LEDs to cover the power range without getting crazy, because you don't want to put any more holes into a piece of aluminum than you have to, because it's so damn hard to machine. You might end up messing something up and you can't fix it. If you drill the LEDs in to a straight line, that causes problems too, because you can't center LEDs that precisely in a straight line. It doesn't happen. Unless you got some kind of damn CNC machine, you're never going to do it. You can sit there and you can measure all those precisely with a pair of calipers. You can center punch them, but I guarantee after you drill them, you're going to have one LED up, one LED down, and you're going to say, holy shit, man, that's all messed up. It would be a high-risk scenario. But I went ahead and I drawed the schematic of it out. I spent some calculator time to get 7 LEDs on there that would correspond to the output power on that M800. I think the risk to benefit ratio is a little bit too high. There's just no way to silkscreen aluminum, at least not with the crude tools that I have. So that was the other project that I would consider. It's kind of shitty because it probably took, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours of calculator time to draw it all out on paper. So let me know what you think about that idea. If you tell me to leave it to hell alone, I'll totally understand. But I'm just kind of curious just what someone else might think about doing that. So anyway, hey, I appreciate you watching my video today very much. Thank you for your time. You take care and have a great day.